I want my tree to be in my video. So, I was thinking about aging is so weird because we have this like expectation when we're little of what aging will feel like or looks like, or when we look up to adults when you're little and they're so giant and tall, well, they're so tall and all-knowing, and you just assume that adults know. I can't wear this, bro. Okay. When we're little, we look up to adults and we just, oh my gosh, we just automatically assume that adults are all-knowing. And I remember looking up to like adults and like teenagers when I was a kid, and I thought they were so old and they knew everything and they had it all together and they knew how to be an adult and they knew how to be a grown-up, and it suited them, like adulthood or being older, like it made sense for them. But I never felt like it made sense for me, you know? And they knew what they were doing, but that obviously isn't the case. And I think it takes until you reach certain ages to realize that that isn't the case at all. And adults don't know what they're doing. Young adults don't know what they're doing. Regular adults don't know what they're doing. It's like adults get more accustomed to living as an adult or whatever in society. I don't think anybody knows what they're doing, regardless of age. I don't think that also age equates wisdom. I think that there's so many like young people who are so wise and so many older people who are not. I don't think that age means that automatically you don't know things about life, or that you haven't had experiences in life. A lot of people have a lot of experiences early on in their life that shape them. You can be wise at a young age, you can be not wise at an old age, you can be wise at an old age, not wise at a young age. Like, it just depends. But I think that age is weird because when we are young and we look up to these ages that seem so out of reach and so far away and just so unattainable, we just assume by then we'll have it together, or we assume that we will have all the answers, that we'll know everything, that we'll be all-knowing and we'll know how to be an adult all of a sudden, and we'll know how to do this and that. And that's just not the case a lot of the time, if not most of the time. You know, when you reach a certain age and it doesn't feel right, and you're like, this is not what I imagined this age would feel like, or this is not what I would imagine that I would feel at this age, or I never thought that I would even reach this age, or it just felt so out of reach that I didn't think that I would, like, it just seems so far in the future, you know what I mean? Or it's just, what does it mean to be a certain age? And we think by the time we reach that age we'll know what it means, and then we reach the age and it doesn't feel like it makes any sense, and you're like, thought you'd feel differently. And I think it never feels quite right to be a certain age, because what does it mean to be any age? Like, what does it genuinely mean? Like, why do we think we're gonna feel a certain way when we turn a certain age? We have like an expectation set, but age is like just a number, you know what I mean? Not in the creepy way. People usually will say that with creepy connotations, but I just mean like age is just a number in the sense of like, it isn't everything. Like, being younger isn't everything, and society makes it seem that way. It's very romanticized to be very young, and teenagers kind of suck, and I don't understand like why all shows and movies are about high school and about being a teenager, and there's a lot of media about that stuff, and it's like, why? Like, yeah, it can be fun and all, but like it's not everything. Like, there's so much more to life than being a teenager and then being whatever. I'm not crying. I don't know what is happening. Ageism is pretty prevalent in society. Like, people shame people, especially women, for getting older, like when they're in their 30s, 40s, or even like past like 25. It's like, I don't know, it's strange how people see it in society, that getting older is a bad thing. I feel like it should not be looked at that way. It should be looked at as a blessing to have more experiences, to have lived as long as you have, to still be alive. And I don't know why it's not looked at like that. We can never get too attached to an age that we are, because it doesn't last forever. And especially when you're younger, it feels like it does last a very long time. I feel like time has gone by a lot quicker as I've gotten older. But we can't get attached to a certain age, because like part of being human is aging. And as a society, it's hard, for some reason it's hard to accept that in society, aging, especially, you know, as a woman. I mean, I guess that goes with everything, that in life you can't really get attached to anything because everything is constantly changing, and age is just one of those things. I think that whether it's in the eyes of God or in the eyes of the universe or something along those lines, I think that regardless of age, we are all children of like God or of the universe or of something. Everyone of every age, elderly people, adults, young adults, children, like, we are all children through that perspective, or in that point of view. And ever since I started thinking of it like that, I look at adults a lot differently, and elderly people. And it's interesting because, like, throughout life we do kind of cycle back to certain like childish behaviors in a way. Like, elderly people need to be taken care of, like, similarly to the beginning of our life, we need to be taken care of. And I don't know, to me that just makes sense, that like everybody in a way is a child to something. And I think people are always talking about embracing their inner child. Adults, I'll hear that a lot. And I'll also hear like the opposite of that, where people like shame people for doing that, and people shame people for not being mature enough, or for whatever along those lines. And it's like, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense to me. It's hard to realize how fast life goes by, how fast we age, and how fast things change physically and whatever. And people like judge older people. And I'm not talking about like people my age, I'm talking about people who like in their 30s and 40s, like, and above. And it's like, we're all gonna be that age someday, if we're lucky to be. And it should be seen as luck to be. A common thing that I'll hear, or that I've seen, people say on social media is, oh, I just realized it's my parents' first time living too, or whatever. And it's true though. At least living in like this form and this, as the people that we currently are, it's our first time as these people in these like vessels, specific vessels. Hello, Miss Turtle. When you're younger, you expect adults to have all the answers to everything, and then you grow up and you realize that it isn't really like that. And you don't really know what you're doing. And I don't really think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't think we're supposed to have all the answers.